Hello, everyone. We are going to be starting our study on the Transcontinental Railroad. So, for your mini lesson today, the first thing you want to do is pause and get out your yellow social studies journal. I do want you to take a few notes so that they are in there and ready for you to study. So, please go ahead and pause the video and do that. First thing is, I want us to take a look at the United States map in 1860. So, this is kind of where we're starting out. All of these pink states are states, they are determined areas in America, and that they are already established as a state. This kind of yellowy, orange, brown color is representing just territories. They have not been established as states. So you can see this is the Utah Territory, Nebraska Territory, and others. Down here, which we know is Hawaii, the islands of Hawaii, and then Alaska. This is really Alaska to us today, but these gray places are other countries' ownership. So, for example, Hawaii was a kingdom with a king and a queen, and then Alaska, of what we know, was right now run by Russian people in Russia. So, this is basically an idea of what our map looked like. So everything is pretty much established over here or becoming established, but this area here is just completely, utterly nature. Nothing has been established, no roads, no places, no nothing, and just completely unestablished. This is what we know the United States as today. So, for us, we live here in South Carolina in the southeastern part of the United States. And then we have the northeastern, the Midwest, the Southwest, and then the West in and of itself. And then we understand that this is Alaska, which is really up more in the top left corner of the original map. And then Hawaii off the coast of California. They bring in the map Alaska and Hawaii because really they are pretty far off of the United States land. So, one thing I want us to understand is right now we're picking back up off of Reconstruction. Our entire nation is having to basically be rebuilt and reestablished after the Civil War. So, we see that the pink areas were becoming established, especially as states, but then this area. Now, if we remember, a lot of people were wanting to move out here. So, people living on this East Coast, like us, for example, in South Carolina, on this side, they're wanting to move to the west, but they only had three ways to travel across this territory that was not established, that did not have roads or anything like that. So, why would people want to move here? Well, really, a lot of people wanted to move, one, maybe for money. For a new job out here in the coast at California or Oregon. A lot of people might have wanted to move for any type of freedom, or just lots of people wanted to move because they're very adventurous. So we see this is really kind of what our map looks like. So the first choice that people had to move on with is a stagecoach. Now I do want you to write this down. The three ways that people were able to travel. Sorry, my motion sensor light. Excuse me. The three ways people had to travel, I want you to write this down. So the first way is that stagecoach. So I would literally put one in stagecoach. So this right here is a stagecoach. It's like a wagon. Okay, it's a four-wheel wagon that was pulled by horses. This is not a fancy car. This is not anything fancy. This is literally what they could get together. So, what are some dangers that these pioneers, which is the people that are moving, what's something they may run into? Well, if you think about it, animals, right? Like there's lots of animals out there that definitely are just living it up out in those territories, doing their thing. Some other dangers may be running into Native Americans who are already established in those areas. And then that causes a lot of uproar with people wanting to come through their territory. You may even face weather, right? Like big storms. I want you to understand that this area that's basically a territory, places that are not established, is not flat land. Not all of this is flat land. There's lots of mountainscapes that people have to travel through, rivers and lakes, and that causes a problem when you come across that. How are you supposed to get your stagecoach across? So that's kind of some of the dangers they may face. But the first choice they have to get over to the west is literally through a stagecoach. Now, the second one, this video will be in your Google Classroom so you can watch. The second choice, I would like you to write the second choice down. Settlers would travel by boat. So, for example, we're about right here off the coast where my mouse is, South Carolina. Let's say we want to move out west, but we do not want to take a stagecoach over there across the land under or over all that unmarked territory. We would get on a boat, find our way, and my mouse is us on a boat. We would make all our way over here to Panama, all through this water here, somehow to Panama. We would get off the boat. We would get onto the land of Panama. We would take a train all the way across to the other side of Panama, and then we would get off the land onto another boat and then travel all our way over here to the west coast. That journey, you guys, probably took a long time. So many people were unwilling to go straight across under all that territory that was not marked. So they would travel to Panama and then get back on a boat all the way around. So the third choice is very similar. Yes, they are going by boat, but notice what this says. People here on the East Coast would travel by taking a boat, and they would go all the way around South America, all the way around. They would not cut through Panama. They would get on the boat and never get off that boat until they reached the land all the way over here. So it's important when you are determining the second choice from the third choice is that the second choice, they stopped in Panama. The third choice, they would go all the way around South America. Okay, so please make sure that you are pausing the video, taking down the notes of the three choices that people had to make with transportation. Okay, that is extremely important that you have those in your notes. So let's keep going. All three choices were long, dangerous, and expensive. Completely. Okay, but change is needed here. Okay, when people are there, once they've taken that route and now they're over there out west, how are they going to communicate with the rest of the country? For example, if I travel all the way over to California, how am I going to talk to my family in South Carolina? How are they going to know I got there safely? How are they going to know that I have a place to stay or I have food to eat? So how do people who lived here receive news? Well, the first thing is the Pony Express. I would like you to write this down. The Pony Express. This is the first type of communication they were able to have with people. So the Pony Express was a mail service, kind of similar to the U.S. mail, the mailmen and women that come around to our homes and drop off mail. This was a mail service created in 1860 to deliver mail from Missouri to California. Now, I want you to know all of this part right here where my mouse is circling is that uncharted territory that's not established. Okay, I get that we're kind of looking at it as it is, but this is all that territory that people were in the process of establishing. Okay, the reason why they start in Missouri is because everything on the right-hand side of Missouri was established states. So they started right on the tip there in St. Joseph, Missouri, and then was making their way out west. Okay, Pony Express is literally using animals, the ponies, horses, to get mail across. They were able to knock this down to a 10-day delivery. Okay, we know that the traveling process of getting people over there took up to like 5 months. So for them to be able to knock this down to 10 days to get mail over there instead of a 5-month trek over there is pretty impressive. Okay, I would like you to write down that it took 10 days to deliver mail. So remember, if you're in need, pause the video. So let's talk about this Pony Express. This Pony Express was like a relay race. Riders would get on their horses and would travel about 75 to 100 miles and then hand the mail to the next mail rider and then travel on. So basically, what's happening at all these little white dots on the trail is that a rider would make their way from one white dot to the next, switch his horse possibly every 10 to 15 miles, and hand off the mail. So one would go, okay, all right, I'm going to take off here. I have all the mail. I'm going to drop it off at you. I might switch out my horse. I may pass on the mail to the person waiting, and then they take off on their horse. That's how this is working. It's not one horse making the entire traveling system. Okay, it is not one horse doing everything. It is a bunch of different horses and a bunch of different men making this happen. That's how they were able to knock it down to 10 days. So these little white dots are representing that 150 stops along the way. They were able to make kind of, if you look at these pictures right here, they were able to make kind of like little campsites for people to stop at to interchange their horse or to pass on the mail. Okay. Here's something important that you may want to write down. The Pony Express was looking for young men who were skinny, wiry fellows, not over 18, an expert horse rider, and willing to risk death daily. This was a very extremely dangerous trip. Okay, these horses and men are going one to the next, and they don't know what they're going to face. What's interesting about this is that they truly were wanting orphan young men because the orphans did not have family. And so they were able to drop everything they're doing and take this job. It's not like, they had to figure out how to take care of their family or send things to their family. They didn't have family. They were orphans. So they were able to take this job and run with it. So that's pretty interesting right there. That's an actual flyer, and that's an actual photograph from that time period. I'm also going to link this video for you. So let's talk about Samuel Morse. This is like the next level type of communication. So we have the Pony Express being our first way of communication across the country, but Samuel Morse helps us take that up a notch. So Samuel Morse, his invention puts the Pony Express out of business. So you might want to write down the name Samuel Morse. He invented the telegraph. This is something you need in your notes. In 1830s, he invented this device called the telegraph that sent messages through wires using electricity. Can you tell how this is like Inventions 101? Like he's starting to figure it out. Have you ever heard of Morse code? Well, this telegraph is really using Morse code. When the first transcontinental telegraph, which means this telegraph can hear and help the signals across the entire continent of the USA. This telegraph line was established in 1860, and it put the Pony Express out of business because it was faster. They could get the message there clearer and faster than the 10-day pony trek across the continent. So I'm also going to link this video. It explains Morse code, but this is what Samuel Morse came up with, is Morse code, using all of these different codes to send through the machine, the telegraph, to get to the people on the other side. Can you see how that's much faster than having to travel the mail with a pony all the way across the continent? So this is what Morse code kind of looks like and represents. It's pretty interesting if you've never heard of it before. But the telegraph uses the Morse code to transmit messages. This sentence written in red needs to be in your notes. So this is what Morse code is doing. It's able to get a message there clearly. They can decode it by using this chart here to figure out what the telegraph is saying. Pretty cool. Remember, if I'm going too fast, please pause so that you can write down these notes. And I will also link this video for you. So that is our lesson for today. We just wanted to see how our continent, how our entire USA is starting to look like in 1860, and how we start to get people over there, But how do we communicate with them? So, tomorrow we're going to be starting the Transcontinental Railroad study. We're going to see how we start to establish a way to get from the east side of our country to the west side in a smooth way. Thank you for viewing. Please make sure you are documenting the notes. I will be checking tomorrow to see. I will see you tomorrow, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.